Show. Great variety today. Calls have been amazing, off the charts. A lot of Jets conversation as Joe Douglas, their general manager, spoke to the press yesterday and made it clear that Zach Wilson is his guy. Wilson needs to be a star to live up to all of this, not only being the number 2 pick in the draft, but saying goodbye to Sam Darnold. The Jets didn't have to do that. They could have kept Darnold. They could have drafted Kyle Pitts at 2 or Sewell at 2 or traded 2 and got a bushel of picks to get players, and they certainly need that. But I do give Douglas credit where he could have taken the safe route, even to some the better route, but he decided he's going to lay it on the line because he thinks Zach Wilson's a star. I respect that. A lot of pressure on him, bullseye on his back, but he thinks that he now has his quarterback and he now has his head coach. You remember, he didn't pick Adam Gase. He didn't pick Sam Darnold. So now it's his football team, and I think that's at least energizing for the long-suffering Jets fan who has flooded the phone lines today and has been omnipresent online, answering the Twitter question. Can't wait for the Scheinbox results coming up in a little bit. The Jets trading Sam Darnold was. And it's also sparked a great Atlanta Falcons conversation today because it all ties in. You know Lawrence is going 1. You know Wilson's going 2. Mr. Mac Jones now officially mocked by the great Dan Jeremiah to go number 3, which is exactly what we said after the San Francisco 49ers blockbuster trade. And I think the draft in a lot of ways starts at 4. And that's the poll question today. What should the Falcons do with the 4th overall pick in the draft? And you heard that interview we did with Matt Ryan week of the Super Bowl, and Matt said all the right things. His facial expression, we did the interview on Zoom, looked like he sucked on a lemon. And I don't blame Matt Ryan. I will go bonkers if they take a quarterback with that 4th overall pick. I will go bonkers. They just can't do it. Can't do it. It would make absolutely no sense. Matt Ryan still has a lot of good football left. They got Arthur Smith to be their head coach. They could trade down. That's an option, especially if it's not too far, and they get a haul from Denver, a haul from New England. But what I would do is take Kyle Pitts. I wouldn't even think twice about it. I would take Kyle Pitts. So football has been the omnipresent topic. We did a ton of American League Baseball in the first hour. There's nothing quite like watching Garrett Cole work the mound, work his game. It is just sensational and just amazing to watch. We credit the Red Sox for their walk-off. The Astros, despite all the boos, keep winning. We talked a lot of National League in hour number 2. Clayton Kershaw taking care of business, and that was just awesome to watch. No surprise. He's back on track after opening night, and the Dodgers, they're the best team in baseball, bar none. Juan Soto with a walk-off. Scherzer was a bulldog. Mets get their first victory of the season. Some good baseball conversation in the mix, some good NBA conversation last hour. A lot of talk on Durant's coming back tonight. Harden out 10 days. Jokic is the MVP. Steph carrying the Golden State Warriors. First hour of the show, we gave you Spieth as our Masters pick, so I can't wait for the scene and the sights and the sounds at Augusta coming up starting tomorrow. That's going to be a ton of fun. We got into the latest on Deshaun Watson. This is all so disturbing and so despicable and disgusting, and Nike has announced that they've suspended their relationship with Watson. I mean, watching one of the women speak yesterday was, it was gut-wrenching. It was absolutely gut-wrenching. So, I think there is enough for the NFL right now. We gave you the Brian McCarthy NFL spokesperson quote. I think, and they're investigating it, and they find the accusations to be reprehensible. Obviously, I do think, as is right now, there is enough to suspend Deshaun Watson for conduct detrimental. It is purposely worded in a very ambiguous way, so you don't have to be guilty in a court of law to violate the code of conduct policy in the National Football League, and I think a suspension is going to be coming down sooner rather than later, and it should be for Deshaun Watson. The telephone calls have been absolutely incredible today. Greg McElroy going to join us in a little bit to break down the quarterback prospects coming up in the draft. Chad in California, our good friend. Next, Schein on Sports.
Schein. What's going on?
My guy, Chad, always a pleasure. What's cooking?
Oh, Schein, I just want to talk about this Darnold trade. I mean, right when it broke, I was on the same page basically as you were yesterday. I mean, this has a lot to do with more than just those two teams. And you look at it, obviously, the Jets with Joe Douglas and Saleh, they're kind of putting their hands on the franchise and going in their direction. And that's great. They have a high pick to do that. They felt like it was the time. The Panthers, I think, hit it out of the ballpark. I mean, you're bringing in Darnold, who we both said would be a good fit in Denver. You're having Brady and Rule, to kind of coach them up. You got the weapons. I mean, McCaffrey alone, the Swiss Army knife, and then, you have the receivers out there and Moore and Robbie Anderson with the chance to add more talent at 8, especially with the way the board's going. You're going to get a good player, maybe a star receiver, maybe Pitts. I don't think he falls, or maybe a tackle to protect Darnold. I mean, so many options for Carolina. But then there's Denver and New England are the two teams that I think really are kind of in the driver's seat now. And looking at it, obviously, like you said, I agree with you completely. The draft starts at 4. If you wanted to just kind of go down with, say, another trade would not happen between now and the draft, which obviously we all know that's not going to happen. Someone's going to trade in. There's a chance that Lance or Fields falls right into Denver's lap. But we know this league is crazy, and in this league, you should probably go get what's yours instead of wait, because if it gets around 6 or 7 and Fields or Lance are still hanging there in New England or a team like Pittsburgh are sitting there, Denver's going to get Mahomes, and I don't want that. So I think we really have to make the move I think the best situation where I can sleep well at night is to call Atlanta and just get that done.
That makes the most sense, and being aggressive makes the most sense. And look, Monday we said that perfect spot for Darnold's Carolina, Denver. And we've been screaming that for a long time. And then we said it on Monday's show in the final hour to start the final hour, and then a couple hours later he traded to Carolina. So, the options are dwindling here for Denver, but they're not dead yet. But and Chad, I want to stress something. There's a shot that Fields or Lance there for them at 9. There's a shot, but you can't act like there's a shot. None of these other clubs are acting like there's a shot. They're being smartly proactive at the most important position in sports. And I think that needs to happen here with the Denver Broncos. I like Fields. I like Lance, and they have a golden opportunity to get their guy. So I'm definitely going to be working it here with the Atlanta Falcons. And if it's not Atlanta, I'll give you the other team. I'll give you 2 other teams. Trade up to 7 or to 8, even if it's 1 or 2 spots. If one of those quarterbacks left, you need to make sure that you're the team that gets that quarterback.
I agree. And what kind of baffles me is I've been on Twitter a little bit, and Broncos Twitter's kind of been killing me. And then I just don't understand. I mean, in my opinion, Justin Fields is the second best quarterback in this draft. I love Zach Wilson. I love his confidence. I love his swagger. I love the way he throws the ball. I mean, he had a great year at BYU, but I mean, it's kind of like the Gonzaga thing. BYU, they had a game against Coastal Carolina. We're talking about Justin Fields. He had 2 bad games, and he had a bump shoulder. I mean, should he have sat out and helped his draft stock by not playing and not making those mistakes? I mean, we're talking about a guy who went to Ohio State and just was a star since he stepped onto the field. I really don't see, if you're going to take Wilson over Fields, I guess you can sell me. But at 3, that's why it kind of scares me with these reports. And I know, our guy Mark, he doesn't believe it either. This Mac Jones, I don't know how you take Mac Jones over Fields. And if you do, if you're San Francisco.
Listen, I can rationalize it, agree with it. Not even rationalize it. I can agree with it for San Francisco. And especially with that Matt Ryan comparison. I do think there's a lot of Matt Ryan in Mac Jones. And I think he steps in for Kyle and he dominates. So I know a lot of 49ers fans want to go in a different direction. But by the way, going back to your team and Fields, I'm a big believer in Fields and Lance. And if those guys are there for your Broncos, you must, Chad, be aggressive. But yes, 49ers fans should start wrapping their brain around Mac Jones. And I'm telling you right now, Mac Jones, he steps in San Francisco with Kyle calling the plays and the talent around him. I mean, that's going to be an ultra-dangerous team, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Mac Jones be in the conversation for Rookie of the Year if he's drafted by San Francisco. That is a credit to Kyle. Alex in Miami, our good friend. Next on Sports.
Adam, Rookie of the year is going to be Pitts to Miami, okay? At number
By
6.
the way, he goes to Miami. I mean, alongside those receivers.
Oh, my God.
I mean, that
Fuller,
if you're
Fuller,
that's
Parker,
perfect.
Gesicki.
Perfect.
Oh.
Perfect.
And if Tua can't do it with that, then we know we got to get another quarterback.
Ooh.
Adam, I see Atlanta either trading out or taking a tackle. I don't see them taking Pitts or Chase.
Why?
I'm with you. I take Pitts. I'm not, but I see Atlanta trading out. That's my number one thing. I see the Bengals taking a tackle. You have to protect Joe Burrow. He's your future. I mean, the guy, 12th game was out, or whatever it was, 10th game of the year.
Listen, I am all in when it comes to the only thing it's about in Cincinnati is protecting Joe Burrow. Yeah. But there is something to be said for how a board reads. And there's a realistic chance that Pitts and Chase are much higher up on the Bengals draft board than either Sewell or the Northwestern tackle.
I'm trying to talk to the Bengals right now and tell them to take a tackle. I want my pick between Chase and Pitts. I'm being greedy here. I mean, you can't go wrong with Miami sitting at 6, and it's pretty. And Adam, with 18, do you take Phillips? Because I think Phillips is going to be a great defensive end in the NFL. He's got all the measurables. You saw him play last year. His comeback story from UCLA transferring to Miami, and the way he played, and the way he got back onto the field after retiring. This kid has it all. I saw him play. And, man, it's right here in your backyard. You know what I'm saying? If he's there at 18, I mean, I'm taking him at defensive end because we need a defensive end.
I think that you certainly, Alex, need a pass rusher. I don't think there's any question about that, which is why, look, you need a starting running back. There's no doubt, and it's going to be interesting to see where that run is on running backs and if they go in the first round. You know my take. I'm not against it. I know that in a lot of ways I'm like a dinosaur, but if you have the right players, I mean, I argued last year about Jonathan Taylor in the first round. How did Jonathan Taylor play last year? I argued Swift in the first round. I argued J.K. Dobbins, and Baltimore certainly was thrilled that they got him in round 2. So. I think when it's all said and done, it's going to be very interesting to see where those running backs go because Miami certainly needs – there are a couple teams, Miami, Arizona, teams that have pretty high hopes and aspirations for this year. They need a running back, and they need to get one, a starting running back in the first round. More of your outstanding telephone calls, plus Greg McElroy is going to join us live on the line right after this.